Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and today I'm going to do a deep dive into the one true version of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me every Twin Peaks fan should own. Now, before I get to that version, we need to go through most of the previous versions as well. And that is, okay, so this is my original copy of Fire Walk with Me on VHS. This is, a bootleg. When New Line Cinema released the VHS back in early 1993, it came out very quickly. A lot of times back then, it would take a year and a half before a movie would go from the theatrical experience to VHS. This came out within like 4.5 months, so it's very quick. But surprisingly, the movie did not have a code, which meant that you could record it from VCR to VCR. A lot of movies at that time, especially starting around the time of 1985 with Back to the Future, movies would have some codes, and you'd have to do some serious maneuvering to get around those. And usually, if you did, you recorded the code too, so you couldn't ever like dupe it for your friends. But New Line Cinema's VHS did not have a code, surprisingly enough. So I was able to just get it right away. And that was fantastic because back then, movies did not usually come out priced to own. You had to wait years, and I mean years, before you could afford a tape in 1995 or even 1495. Usually titles like that were reserved for like Batman, Tim Burton's film, or Lethal Weapon 2, films that made over $100 million, and then they could be priced to own. The first price to own VHS was Michael Jackson's Thriller, if you didn't know that. Anyway, so this is my original copy of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me on VHS. I have down here David Lynch documentary as the second thing, which is amusing because it's not really a documentary. What it is a bunch of clips of David Lynch on talk shows and Jennifer Lynch on talk shows, and clips from Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet and all his movies. And I kind of put it together so when I went to college, I didn't have to carry all those VHS tapes with me. I could just bring the one tape. And of course, I'm out of focus. I apologize. Hopefully, come on. Okay. So we had to wait a long time. Obviously, we didn't know there was going to be another format. Obviously, there was Laserdisc. I don't have Fire Walk with Me on Laserdisc. Just because by the time I got my Laserdisc player, DVD was starting to roll around anyway. And there was this whole petition online. I can't remember the website, but there was a whole thing online about, let's release the deleted scenes from Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Those of us who are crazy Twin Peaks fans went out and got the screenplay via mail. There was no, internet place to get it yet. So we had to, write a check and send it off to the mail, and it came to our house. And so we had the script, and we could see that there were a ton of scenes that not only were in the script, but obviously were not in the film. Some of those scenes were never shot, and some of those scenes were rearranged, and other scenes that are not in the script were shot. So it was, but still, it's important as a Twin Peaks fan to have at least read the screenplay to Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, Teresa Banks, and The Last 7 Days of Laura Palmer. Probably the longest title ever to be hinted at putting out on a theatrical marquee. But anyway, there was this whole movement online once the internet got going. Let's get out the deleted scenes of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Of course, I was like totally pro that. Let's do it. And then it came out that New Line was going to release it on DVD without the deleted scenes. So we got this. I love this cover. This is the original US theatrical poster, which I think is the best poster for Fire Walk with Me. In fact, I think this poster is so good that it's a poster for a movie that doesn't really exist. I mean, yes, all the elements are there. There's Laura, there's the necklace, there's the Black Lodge. But in a way, this poster makes it look like this movie is going to be just completely epic. And the film is more personal than epic, even though it does have a rather long running time. Now, instead of deleted scenes, they gave us the US theatrical trailer, which I love. I love that trailer. But they gave us what is perhaps the worst documentary ever created for Twin Peaks, and that is called well, it doesn't really say. I can't remember what it's called now, but it just says original document. Oh, Reflections on the Phenomenon of Twin Peaks. This is one of the, I mean, seriously, it could be the worst documentary ever made. It's certainly one of them, top 10 at least. They have everybody here, right? Ray Wise, Grace Zabriskie, Cheryl Lee, Kyle MacLachlan, Michael Horst, Miguel Ferrer, Kimmy Robertson, Al Strobel, Michael J. Anderson, Catherine Colson, Peggy Limited, Everett McGill, Machen Amick, Dana Ashbrook, Joanna Ray, Ron Garcia. It just goes on and on and on. But instead of like making this like beautiful 2-hour-long documentary, they got everyone to sit down, give incredible interviews, and then what did the editors do and the filmmakers do? They chopped them up so you get every other word of what somebody is saying. I'm not kidding you. It's like Peggy Lipton will start to be like, and then it cuts to someone else saying something else that is like. It literally is somebody not even paying attention in the editing bay, just hitting edit, and you can't even understand what anybody is really saying. Occasionally you get like a little sentence from somebody and you go, thank God, there's some good juicy tidbits there. But no, it is a terrible 28 minutes or so. It is so horrible. I can't even tell you. And the fact that documentary, if it wasn't for everyone involved, this thing never would be seen the light of day on other releases. Unfortunately, it has been taken over to other releases. It is a horrible, horrible thing. And, you know, this DVD, we all bought. Okay, I'm going to be honest. We all bought. But while we were buying it, we all felt like this was a giant slap in the face to us Twin Peaks fans. You know, it's like this was available at Costco. I think I got this for like $17.99 at Costco. It was like first day Costco had this. And I was like, oh God, I don't want to get it because it doesn't have the deleted scenes. But it has this like cool documentary, which of course I didn't know how crappy it was going to be. And I was like, I have it on VHS. I might as well pick it up on DVD. And so I got this and I was kicking myself for it. But I wanted to support it because I wanted to like get the deleted scenes out there at some point. You know, little did we know that it was going to take, you know, almost 2 decades later to get them. But anyway, so this was the first release. All right. So then came this. The Twin Peaks, The Entire Mystery Blu-ray set, which of course has seasons 1, seasons 2, and Fire Walk With Me. But now it has the deleted scenes, the missing pieces. The big problem with this set, of course, is that for about 50% of the players out there, at least on the US, the missing pieces about halfway through, around the time that Jack Nance and Joan Chen are doing their scene, the audio went out of sync. It went completely out of sync. You couldn't even like. It was like all of a sudden it was like about 10 seconds behind. And so that was a real problem. It didn't happen with every player, but it did happen with a lot of our players. And that became a huge issue. What's really cool too is though there is some more Fire Walk With Me stuff on here. There's more interviews. There's another documentary which is much better produced with some really great insights and interviews. And I highly recommend you checking that out. But I found this really funny that it was called The Entire Mystery. And of course, just a couple of months later, they would announce season 3, which makes me wonder, is season 3 not part of the mystery? Is it something else entirely? But anyway, so Fire Walk With Me was released in here. It was, you know, it was a very cool thing to have that with the missing pieces, and the missing pieces did not disappoint. They were wonderful. Some of them, which I was kind of lukewarm about, maybe at the start, I've grown to love each and every one of them. So except for the awful Cooper Diane scene. But it is great, and it's wonderful to have this in its box. Then Criterion released this. Now you may be wondering, well, wait a minute, Cameron, if you have this on Blu-ray, why did you get the Criterion disc? Well, the reason why is because the missing pieces, like I said, the audio went out of sync on some of my players, not all of them, but a couple of them, and I didn't want that problem to happen on I didn't want to have to like choose which player to watch the missing pieces on. So I got this. This is the Criterion disc. And it's because I wanted to watch it with the missing pieces, you know, better represented. And they definitely are. Criterion did a great job with this. They remastered it great. There is a wonderful interview with Angela Badalamenti, and of course, another one with Cheryl Lee, which is not part of the other sets. So that was a must buy. Here's the problem, though. This this set has less Fire Walk With Me material than the complete mystery set. So Criterion actually, in doing better in presenting the missing pieces, actually did worse in terms of the extra content. All the previous documentaries should have been ported over to this thing. But as it is, I do think it's a wonderful release. I do think, though, if you have the complete mystery, you don't have to get this one. But I did get this one so that I could get the missing pieces better represented. Okay, so then the Zeta A box set comes out, which now that we have this announcement that Lynch might be involved in a new Netflix series that may or may not be involved with Twin Peaks, this literally could be the last thing we see of Twin Peaks from Lynch and Frost until somebody else gets their little mittens on it. But this includes Fire Walk With Me and the missing pieces and everything else that we got from the complete mystery. I got this set because I wanted to get all the extra features from season 3 that were not included on the original season 3 set. And then this just includes Fire Walk With Me and the missing pieces again. So that, is this worth getting? Yes. I do think this is worth getting. It's got a lot of cool, stuff. Basically, it's got everything you had before, but just has a bunch more documentary stuff on it. If you can get this for a good price, and you usually can now, I highly recommend picking this up. Doesn't mean you could pretty much get rid of a few of the other releases if you didn't care about the extra features and just have this one set. Okay, so that leads me to this. Let's get focused. So, rumors came around in the Twin Peaks UK festival back, I believe it was like 2015 or so. And of course, it's still not focusing. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, this camera is like... All right. Well, anyway, so back in 2015, I believe it was, or maybe it was 2016, Sabrina Sutherland, David Lynch's longtime producer ever since Inland Empire, went there and stated that Lynch was at least playing around with the idea of releasing a long extended version of Fire Walk With Me. Even though he loves the theatrical cut, let's be honest here, the theatrical cut is only 2 hours and 15 minutes because the US stipulation, theatrical stipulation, was that it could only be 2 hours and 15 minutes. If they let him have it 3 hours, I'm pretty sure Lynch would have made it a longer film. But anyway, so she was saying that he's toying with the idea of putting out an extended version, especially with the missing pieces out there. Everyone got really excited. Of course, I hope if he does do that he just goes wilder than just putting the missing pieces into the Fire Walk With Me release, because I believe there's more material out there, even though Sabrina says there's not. I believe there's probably a few little things here and there, little nuggets in there. And also now that we know that Laura Palmer is screaming at feeling Agent Cooper out in the woods, maybe that could be included too, and that could be a real trip. So as we patiently wait for that to come out, I do want to bring attention to what I consider is probably, even though I love the documentaries and I love, the presentation that Criterion and the Zeta A box set does for Fire Walk With Me, this to me, as of this moment, is the version of Fire Walk With Me every person should own, or at least every Twin Peaks fan should own. And that is, here it is, Twin Peaks, Fire Walk With Me, Teresa Banks, and The Last 7 Days of Laura Palmer. This I got on eBay. I did not make this. I don't know who made this, but this is available on eBay, or at least it was when I got it. It cost about $30, including shipping, and it is amazing. So what it is Fire Walk With Me with the missing pieces put back in, with the exception of that awful Cooper and Diane scene, which is a wise choice. But the film has been re-edited so that it follows the screenplay and not the theatrical version's timeline, which is really smart because the script was structured differently. If you notice in the film, you'll see Laura on the staircase, looking up at the fan earlier in the theatrical film, and she's wearing the red shirt. And then later she's wearing the red shirt when she sees James outside on his bike. Well, let's be honest here. A normal teenage girl does not wear the same shirt twice in a week. Just doesn't happen. And of course, when you watch The Missing Pieces, you realize that after she saw James on the bike, she then went in the house and then was on the staircase and sees the fan. And then that, she talks to her mom. So this kind of like makes everything, it brings that James scene up earlier, which is where it was supposed to be. And it just kind of ties it all together better. The only thing that they didn't change is the David Bowie appearance. I mean, the full scene is included, which is fantastic. But in terms of where it is in the script, because where it is in the script, Laura's walking to school, and then it cut to David Bowie's sequence, and then it cuts back, and Laura was still walking to school. So it kind of broke up that Badalamenti musical cue. But they left the David Bowie sequence where it's supposed to be theatrically, which is interesting because he's talking about 1989 through the whole thing, and that was the whole point, was that he was 1989 because Laura Palmer was walking to school. But he's kind of out of time anyway, so it's okay that it takes place in 1988. I apologize for talking so fast, but I figure if you are a Twin Peaks hardcore fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this is presented in full 1080p with 5.1 surround sound. It is a wonderful version of the film. Whoever put this thing together did just a marvelous job. And while it's great to have the theatrical cut, like I said, I have all the versions here, with the exception of the Laserdisc. I do think that every Twin Peaks fan should get a copy of this. I'm sure you can find it online somewhere, but if you can find a Blu-ray of it, it is great to have this on physical media format, especially since I can play it on any Blu-ray player I want, and it looks fantastic. It runs 3.5 hours, and while it may not be the perfect version of Fire Walk with Me we may all want, because I know there's other stuff that is missing, particularly when James speeds away after Laura runs into the woods, the camera starts to pan down, and of course in the script we know that we get Doc Hayward's Red Rose revealed. You can even see the camera start to pan down before it cuts to Laura in the woods. I think that shot is one of the key shots of Fire Walk with Me that needs to be included, or at least found and included, because I think that's the payoff to the whole Doc Hayward scene. And I think Lynch kind of purposely held on to shots like that so people couldn't put together a full version. But right now this is the longest, fullest version we have of the film, and I think it's my preferred version, because don't get me wrong, I mean, I do like the theatrical version. I think it's very good, but I think there's some problems with it. One of the problems is that, if you go by what you see in Fire Walk with Me, Leland Palmer should have been arrested on the first day. There's nothing in Fire Walk with Me that makes you think that anybody in that town would think Leland Palmer is a normal, everyday, functioning human being. In this version, you see Leland and Sarah act like human beings. And I think that's very important. You also see Laura, having moments. I mean, you've seen it on the Missing Pieces, but you see Laura interacting with her family in a way that seems like a family, as opposed to just a shriek and screaming every second of the film. So I think the film was kind of like brought down to a more visceral, almost horror film level. And in fact, with New Line Cinema releasing the film back in 1992, they almost felt like they were releasing sort of an art house Nightmare on Elm Street. Basically, if you look at the first 20 minutes of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master, it pretty much is Fire Walk with Me. So anyway, I just think this is an incredible film. If you get your hands on this thing and enjoy it, because this is until Lynch gives us another extended cut, if he does, this is the truest, fullest version that we're going to be able to get our hands on for a long time, at least. And I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. By the time you get to the end of this film, you truly understand like what they were going for. And in retrospect, I think that even if they hadn't, included the missing pieces in the theatrical cut because of the time length, I think what they should have done, in all honesty, is had a post-credit scene, which they did do back then. Would have included the post-credit scene of Annie in the hospital with the nurse leaving with the ring, because then that would have made everything go full circle, and I think it would have left people just like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? I think that would have honestly brought a lot of interest to Fire Walk with Me, and maybe hinted at things to come. But I do like the theatrical cut. I do. I don't think it's the masterpiece that some Twin Peaks fans think it is, because to me, quite honestly, you cannot have a masterpiece about the last week of Laura Palmer and not include Ben Horne. That is just a complete oversight. Now, Ben Horner's not in this version either, even though he is in the screenplay. Apparently, Richard Beamer did not want to shoot his scenes, which I find rather flabbergasting. But anyway, so he's not included in this. So is this version a masterpiece? No. There's still, like, you know, there's little things here and there. I also think that without One-Eyed Jack's, a proper telling of Laura's story is not told. But as to what they shot and what we've seen, this is the version to get. And honestly, if you love Fire Walk with Me, if you love the character of Laura Palmer, you know, it's not just good to just see the theatrical cut and the missing pieces. You want to see everything intertwined together so that you get the full, rich experience. And this is honestly closer to the version of the film David Lynch wanted to release anyway than the theatrical cut. The theatrical cut was a compromise. It was a compromise to get it out there theatrically with a runtime that the US was stipulating. So anyway, I recommend this Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, Teresa Banks, and the last 7 days of Laura Palmer. This does include, let's see, I believe you get a couple of trailers with it, and that's pretty much it. Nothing else is included. But what else do you need? 3.5 hours, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Can't beat it. Get it. Find it. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Feel free to email us anytime. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.